got yourself a mug. Mama always said that you'd be the chosen one. She said, you one in a million, but we're down to our last strike. Cause YouTube's a comedy trash hole and you can't change my mind. You woke up this morning and all the views are gone. The media never tells you the left is always wrong. But we're one in a million, we got that good and shine. YouTube's a comedy trash hole and you can't change my mind. You woke up this morning, you got yourself a mug. You got yourself a mug. You got yourself a mug.
Click Rumble Premium and join now for $99 annually or $9.99 a month to get the entirely ad-free experience and exclusive content from Louder with Crowder, Nick DiPaolo, Mr. Guns and Gear, Donald Trump Jr., and an ever-expanding roster of content, creators, and free speech. All right, we're in. See, I did it fast because the winds are coming so fast. That's the theme today. Theme also is I need to get my headphones. There we go. Glad with you Monday. Look, if you've been... Today is a perfect example. We are going to get into this where you talk about people being siloed, the left and the right. If you go to Reddit Politics right now, I recommend that you do. Do the drop down. It's an algorithm. Go to hot or top. There are people there right now who still think that Colombia is holding strong. Right now, one of the top 3 posts. And then what happens is no one hears the story about how quickly President Petro caved within about 18 hours. So bring up the rundown. Today, we're going to talk about Hegseth, confirmed. Of course, the left freaked out. Donald Trump took on Colombia, and Donald Trump won. And we're going to do a deep dive into the president of Colombia. This is a country with a leader who is awful by every metric available. He's a Marxist. He's a criminal. And we don't want him as an ally. If he is criticizing American policy, you are on the right track. And let me ask you this question. Which countries should our administration, Donald Trump, President Trump, scare next? Who should he make cry uncle next? I'm hoping it's an Asian one.
A big one.
So at some point, you'll hear this or see this if you're on YouTube. Head on over to Rumble. It's a live show weekdays, 10 a.m., including Friday, if you're a member of Rumble Premium. Captain Morgan, CEO, you are doing well, I assume.
I think so, yeah.
Josh Firestine, he is going to be in Spokane, Washington, February 7th and 8th. JFirestine.com. Yeah. We'll talk about that more later. You have a good weekend? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? A good weekend?
Oh, yeah.
Who?
Trump.
Well, and JD Vance.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
that's true.
JD Vance did what... You guys notice the difference in tone? We are at such a different point than 2016. And again, having been here since 2009, Republicans kind of had to soften it and libertarian present it. And I'm a compassionate conservative. We're done with that.
Yeah.
We're done with that. JD Vance showed you how you deal with the media. You need to articulate the average American's point of view. I do not believe that the average American is stupid. The average working, tax-paying American. I believe that they are fundamentally intelligent. In other words, you could have a rocket scientist, you could have a doctor, you could have an engineer who just doesn't have time to watch all of the news shows, all the news mag shows. So you need to articulate their point of view and hold the media to task and be unapologetic. Watch JD Vance do just that.
We absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted. These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
Skinny, bitchy, and dumb is no way to go through life, sweetheart.
By the way, I think he gave that interview just so he could do that.
Yes.
Not State of the Union, Face the Nation. It's like, I don't know if that's the highest rated Sunday show you could have done, but
they're legacy media and they deserve to be irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that's why JD Vance, sometimes conservatives will say, well, why does he do those shows at all? That's exactly why. To show that they're hit piece artists. Hey, do you think the average American cares? Well, hold on, if they got here and they were vetted, but technically, or they were vetted before they got here, they were vetted, I guess, after they got, it doesn't matter. Is this person a terrorist sympathizer? Out.
Done. Do you look at her face too when she said that? Well, it's not really clear.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah. America did this to him.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's actually our fault.
Yes, exactly.
Totally
Yeah.
was fine with the Taliban. The Taliban didn't radicalize him while he was over there. But when he got to America and experienced freedom, oh no!
I bet you she's the kind of woman who talks to you like this and then bitches about how the patriarchy infantilizes women.
Well, it's unclear.
It's unclear. Yeah. Is that what you think? Yeah.
I
Oh my
don't
God. You think he
care.
was radicalized? I don't care.
Best words.
Oh, that wiped that smug smile off your face. So he was referring to the 27-year-old Afghan national, Nasir Ahmad Tawhidi. We call him Nasir Ahmad for short. He was admitted to the United States in September 2021, days after the catastrophic Afghanistan withdrawal. He was approved for a special immigrant visa, previously worked for the CIA in Afghanistan, and he admitted that he wanted to carry out Election Day attacks and be martyred. Admitted. So it doesn't require Colombo.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did it.
Yeah.
I
don't know if
Jury's
he's... I'm not... And here's the thing, the left, this is what they want to argue. They want to argue technicalities to tell you that you are wrong. Well, okay, lab leak maybe, but at that time we didn't know it was a lab leak, so we banned you and told everyone that you were a conspiracy theorist. See? No, it doesn't matter. You were lying then, and you're lying now. This happened, remember, under the Biden administration, they were confronted regarding this man, and they kept going back to, he was vetted. I don't care, but he was vetted.
What I can say is every Afghan national who entered the U.S. was screened and vetted by intelligence, law enforcement, counterterrorism professionals.
Okay. Let me give you my opinion here, and you can let me know if you think I'm out of line. The percentage of Afghan immigrants or refugees who we should be taking here should be close to zero. Should be close to zero with the rare exception. I know we hung some people out to dry, the withdrawal, but outside of that, the set point should be no. Why? Because you're from a country that has given nothing to the world aside from opium and exported terrorism. You're not a net benefit to this country, even if we have empathy for you. It is not our job to bring you in, and too many of them like the terrorism. So no. Is it?
Yeah, no, I'm in the same place. It should be no for anybody, but especially a place where, they don't even have, you say it's 2024 there, too. You say that all the time.
Now it's 5.
But they don't even have TV there. It's like, you guys, you're fundamentally behind on everything and their ideals, everything.
Yeah.
You got to make a really strong case to be able to come to this country, period. But if it's Afghanistan, it's got to be like, I'm sorry, just like 3 times. The whole time I'm kind of laughing at this because she's like, he's vetted, and Vance is like, I know.
Yeah.
He was vetted.
Yes.
Do you understand the problem now, Margaret?
Yes, exactly.
What is their process of vetting? What is that? What does it even
Exactly.
entail?
That's why it's like there's a pause on these people coming over because he was vetted.
I know, Margot.
Are you a terrorist? No.
No.
Yeah,
good enough for me.
Okay. I know a guy who's an interpreter of ours over there, and he freaked out when he said he wanted to come to the United States. And I was like, oh, that'd be great for your wife to be able to go to the store by herself and not worry about being, hassled. And he was like, whoa.
No.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she's a person there. He's like, oh, no.
She's going to get a driver's license too, right?
Turns out somebody ended up giving him a letter of recommendation. He came here a few years ago. Guess what? Left his family in Afghanistan.
Really?
The whole family? Yeah, the whole family's there.
That's because he didn't want the letter of recommendation from Mr. Buzz Killington. Bring the wife. The way ruin a good time. Yes, what?
Well, they were going to breaking news. Apparently, Donald Trump is supposed to sign an order banning transgenders.
you boys.
Someone photoshopped Band of Brothers with RuPaul. All right. Here's the thing. We need to stop importing
Band of
people from
Others.
cultures that hate our values or cultures that I will tell you are just flat out inferior. And yes, that includes Canada. Since his inauguration, Donald Trump really hasn't taken his foot off the pedal. He's firing on all cylinders, of course, on the platform that we love as well, Truth Social, too.
Dear Truth Social, today I wrote a limerick about Chuck Schumer. Old Chuck, it goes like this. There once was a man named Chuck. He didn't have much luck. He tried to erase me. His fat, ugly cousin tried to date me. But Amy is not the kind of girl that I'd
It's a fun platform. I recommend it. So,
I love it.
for the first time, Vice President JD Vance cast the tiebreaker
Yeah.
in officially confirming the tarred and feathered, but very qualified and should be fun, Pete Hegseth as the Secretary of Defense.
On this vote, the yeas are 50 and the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the nomination is confirmed.
Oh, also, Billy, have the afuera ready. Vance, and here's the thing, he shouldn't have to, considering the amount of Republicans that we have there.
That's right, yeah.
But he had to cast the tie-breaking vote because 3 Republicans voted no. And I'll get to the only possible justifications for no in a second, which tells you even more about these Republicans. But let me give them to you. Lisa Murkowski.
Afuera. Inner feelings.
Susan Collins.
Afuera. Inner feelings.
And Mitch McConnell.
Afuera.
All of these people voted yes on Lloyd Austin, but even worse for Mitch McConnell, where I don't even know what Republican means anymore for a guy like this.
Yeah.
After the vote, he walked over to the baby-killing, soul-sucking Democrats to celebrate. Here you go. He's, to be fair, he's kind of wandering. I don't know that he knows where he is.
He's looking for his nurse.
Yes.
I heard there's a sandwich over here.
I tried.
There's an American cheese.
Everybody else is celebrating on the other side, and he's like, I'm going to waddle over here and talk to these guys.
When your only contributive skill is to bump elbows, shake hands, and make deals and compromise and politic, you really shouldn't be representing anybody. He provides nothing of value anyway. Hegseth was confirmed. Of course, the left threw a fit, which means it's time for the latest installment of Leftist Meltdowns.
You are voting for the devil.
And by the way, they're talking about it on CNN. They were just talking about Hegseth supporting deportations. Well, good. So
do the majority of Americans.
And we'll get to, and you can comment what you think about. We've talked about Hegseth, but I'm very convinced that the attacks are entirely fabricated now, because if there were any other substantial reasons to oppose it, you'd hear about them. Instead, you hear he got drunk and people had to carry him to his hotel room at a party, and some lady says he groped her even though there were no actual charges. So, okay, fine, what else you got? The leftists, of course, freaked out. We have a montage here on air about Hegseth.
The things that Hegseth has done, regardless of his military service, outside of his military service, are what made him incredibly unqualified.
I mean, just to be able to rely on Pete Hegseth's experience alone, on his qualifications alone, should scare the crap out of anybody.
We've never had a less qualified Secretary of Defense than Pete Hegseth. He's unqualified because he's morally unqualified.
And they're going to know what we know. He's completely unqualified for this job. He has not proven that he can lead any organization.
Here's what's funny about that. They use the same criticism in attacking Donald Trump. He doesn't have political experience.
Good.
He's declared bankruptcy a couple of times. Okay.
Maybe the government should consider that.
There's protections you get and you reorganize and relaunch the business.
So
he hasn't been manipulated by lobbyists. Right. Oh, good.
They go, aside from his military qualifications, which, he is unqualified, but those are the most relevant qualifications. Yeah, but he likes butts. Oh, I'm fine with that.
And beer.
Okay, good. Don't make me like him more. So then you have these leftists who took to X, all references available, link in the sidebar. Brooklyn Dad Defiant, this...
Former crackhead.
Yeah.
His name is Defiant because he defied child support.
Yes. He said, breaking, the Senate has just voted to confirm Pete Hegseth, a drunken, out-of-control abuser, as the weakest Secretary of Defense in history. A drunken, okay, hearsay. Out-of-control abuser, hearsay. You see, this is why it's not as effective anymore. Hit pieces, whether it's coming out in the New York Post, whether it's coming out in Newsweek, people saying, actually, at one point, he made me uncomfortable. That's all they have, which tells you that it's very likely made up. Doesn't necessarily mean so, but I assume so.
And I also have a problem with that logic. A drunken, out-of-control abuser doesn't sound weak to me.
Yeah,
like that may
true.
be a bad thing, but it also does not sound like a weak person.
A drunken, out-of-control abuser usually is not allowed to see their kids.
Right.
True.
Yes.
Look in a mirror.
That's a good point. You know, drunk Biden, abuser Biden, likes to grope Biden.
It was in a diary.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but also the other lady who he groped. But then, of course, you also have his daughter. This was the closest vote for SecDef. He abbreviates it, so I appreciate that about him. Yeah. Needing the weird couch guy to break the tie.
Oh, boy.
It's a sad day for America. Hegseth is a DUI hire.
Oh, I see what you did.
And then they'll bitch about how Donald Trump uses ad hominem.
Yeah. Says the guy that tried to sell his kids for crack.
Legit?
Legit.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
I did not know this.
How much crack
Yes.
can
This guy's such a...
You prepare a segment for us, too, man.
This guy is a what? You want to do a what a piece of shit?
Yeah, no kidding.
He's like a what an irrelevant piece of shit. This
But
guy's
he's gotten better.
Well, he gets to be amplified, and he's cited as a source all the time. So Tim Miller said, absolutely ludicrous to confirm a Secretary of Defense with bipartisan opposition via a tiebreaker.
Who's Tim Miller?
It's like that's never happened before. A tiebreaker? It's almost like it's in the rules for a reason.
It's set up there.
It's like, what? Yeah, the first time I've ever played Uno and you make me skip my turn, it's one of the cards.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite card, especially if you're sitting next to me. Bernie Sanders. Hegseth has defended war criminals and rejected international law. He's a prominent advocate for privatizing the VA. First off, that's not true. Here's what they're talking about, privatizing. People like Hegseth, and myself included, we believe that if you're a veteran, it should be, like we've talked about, school choice, a credit where the veterans can take it to any in-network hospital as opposed to designating them to one, where they can actually use this to pick their doctor, to choose their care. You're a veteran.
Well, luckily I live in the DFW area, so I there's one within an hour. But a lot of people, good for me. But for a lot of people, they don't have one.
Yeah.
They don't have one within 2 hours, 3 hours. So it's like, okay, emergency, you can get that covered. But if you have anything to do, real work to do, you have to go hours. I know guys have to get flights. They have to drive hours just to go to appointments. It's ridiculous. Why can't I just go somewhere down the street?
Yeah. Well, that's because the left assumes that the system should exist and the solution is more money, more money, more money. Whereas this is funny is when the left, they love to sort of fancy themselves. We'll get to President Petro of Colombia, revolutionaries. There's nothing revolutionary about putting more money into a broken system. And the people they hate are actual revolutionaries, be it literal or figurative. I mean, actual revolutionaries, the Revolutionary War, right? The founding fathers, they hate and they tear down their monuments. Or figuratively, someone saying, hey, let's revolutionize our VA system. Let's give veterans more choice. You have to understand the worldview. People like Bernie Sanders believe public schools, great, give them more money. VA, great, give it more money. He was forced to step down from leading two advocacy groups after repeated allegations of financial mismanagement, sexual harassment, and alcohol abuse. I know.
Another thing with that VA health, I believe that VA doctors are not held to malpractice insurance. I could be wrong, but I know active duty people are.
There's something along those lines. I don't know the actual, the technical letter of the law, but there have been a lot of problems. It needs to change.
Yeah.
And apparently a guy like this is completely unqualified. You know, the only guy in this kind of position that I can remember who's had to go through all of this.
Yes. None of our guys are qualified. Nobody that the Republicans put up really seem to be qualified in these guys' eyes, especially if they're outside of the loop.
Speaking of that, and it's going to be a lot of fun, more confirmation hearings this week. Wednesday, we will be covering this. RFK for Secretary of Health and Human Services. Thursday, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence. And I believe also on Thursday, Kash Patel for the FBI Director. Which one do you think is going to be the most contentious? Comment below. I think either RFK or Tulsi. I would bet RFK just because he's famous. And
I think RFK will be the most contentious. Yeah.
I think it's RFK or Kash Patel because of Kash Patel's personality. I think he's going to have enough people pushing back on him, and he's going to fire right back.
Yeah, enough people scared.
Yeah,
exactly.
What I think.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I happened to be RFK and I'd be sitting there and they'd talk about crazy conspiracy theories, I would answer everything with red dye number 3. I was right. I've been saying it for 20 years, and you did not until about 4 days before this. You ban it. Hey, what about these allegations of red dye number 3? That's it.
It's all you need.
All I would do. We want to get into Colombia here too, because my God, what an example of art of the dealing, if that's a term. And we're going to talk about this more in Donald Trump's West Coast swing. Hey, if you're not there yet, click the button to join Rumble Premium. Right, join right now. It's $99 annually. You get the new co-promoted mug. Mug Club is Rumble Premium. Rumble Premium is Mug Club. You get all of Rumble ad-free. Download the app. You can use it. It's seamless. You can stream it to your TV. You get us. You get the Friday show, 100% more every day. Nick DiPaolo, Dr. Disrespect. It's growing leaps and bounds. You wanted an alternative. Here's the alternative. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. By the way, for you, if you've joined the new mug, those things take just a little while to get into production. So give us a little bit of time. You'll get an email to be able to claim that. So don't worry about it yet. We will make announcements as that gets closer.
All right.
For the new mug.
Very nice. Now let's get to Colombia.
Yeah.
We're going there?
No. There's not a whole lot there. I mean, ladies, yes.
Hold on. Nice. We have to have a correction here, Tim. You have to admonish yourself.
Why?
What?
Brooklyn Dad did not sell or try to sell kids for crack.
Not his own kid?
He tried to sell his kids toys.
Okay.
Oh, same thing. Okay.
You know, I'll take that. I was this much off.
I wonder if he kept the toys and the crack in the same linen closet. Just the fastest talking Teddy Ruxpin ever.
Yeah.
Woo!
This got to be worth something.
It's the Coke with
what
the
a
elbow.
piece of shit. It's still a piece of shit.
That was actually his kid's crack pipes he was trying to sell.
It's just a speak and spell with bad business ideas. Hey, how about like a hat and like a slinky? What? It's Toy Story on crack.
It's just a hoop.
So Colombia, and here's the fundamental difference in worldview of the left. Like I said, if you go on Reddit, you'll still believe that Colombia actually put their foot down.
Yeah.
You see, Donald, a lot of these tariffs aren't going to happen. Are you guys starting to understand that? These are negotiating tools, and they work. There is a very different approach. There's a different approach. They were talking about it on CNN today because Donald Trump has the mandate of the masses, especially as it relates to immigration. And obviously this ties into it. And he's emboldened. And I think he realizes he only has so much time. Mm-hmm. And so he can do more with one phone call or one Truth Social post than all of the sanctions and the diplomatic meetings. It's no, we're not doing that. We're not playing this. And thank God, for the first time, if nothing else in our lifetime, someone leading the United States is using the leverage that we have on behalf of the American people. So ICE raids, the deportations, right, they ramped up all over the country this weekend. Mm-hmm. And here's actually, well, to talk about that before we get to Colombia, here's a montage regarding that, starting with a lady who's really mad at the tip of her own nose.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement reported nearly 1,000 arrests yesterday. The Drug Enforcement Agency says agents arrested nearly 50 undocumented migrants during a raid yesterday near Denver, Colorado.
Raid rumors. Social media posts are claiming several ICE raids have taken place in New Mexico.
Community members say immigration officers arrested several people from across metro Atlanta yesterday.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers have started carrying out targeted raids in Chicago on people marked for deportation.
Stop. You're making me as hard as a whale's tooth now. So they conducted raids, the feds in LA, Chicago, Atlanta, Austin, Denver.
Yeah.
A good start. But the biggest controversy, of course, was surrounding the United States military deporting people and flights going to Colombia. So let me give this to you in a timeline so that you aren't as uninformed as the left and you know exactly how it started and how everything kind of ended up shaking out. So on January 26th at 2:41 a.m., okay, Colombian President Gustavo Petro said he was going to deny the deportation flight. So basically flights really were saying, hey, we're sending these people back. We're sending them back to Colombia. And the president over there said, no, we're not going to accept. First off, a couple of questions. Number one, how crappy, you don't get the moral high ground.
Yeah.
no one else in the world has the moral high ground when either your country is so crappy that people are fleeing and don't want to be there, or number two, these people now are so crappy that your country doesn't want them back. Pick one. Either way, you're an asshole. Gustavo Petro.
That's foreshadowing.
We're not gonna take them. Really? How? Well then, so hold on a second. You won't take them, but you're going to talk down to us. You have the moral high ground because we're not. But you won't take them, and your country sucks so much they left. Just think of, and people like Biden would appease these folks. So he said we're not going to take them. Okay, and I remember thinking at that point in time, all right, well, what are we going to do if these flights are going and now they can't land? And then I thought, we have a multi-trillion-dollar deficit. I'm pretty sure the United States could spring for a few parachutes.
Jump from the sky, I hope it's not too high. Got a lot more to deport to Venezuela or Guyana. Hop out and say sayonara.
Jet flying. You gotta go back.
It's a great idea. We don't need to land.
We don't need John Leguizamo.
Maybe cheaper.
Boy, I really shouldn't have stopped doing stand-up. They're not flying me first class.
Bye, John.
I've never written a joke in your life.
He's a joke.
Okay. So that happened. They said, we're not taking them. Mm-hmm. Then Donald Trump announced a series of punishing actions against Colombia, including raising a 25% tariff to 50%, including revoking visas for government officials and a bunch of other financial sanctions. He posted this photo also to Truth Social, which is great. Look at that. For those who don't know what FAFO means, it means
the first word is a bad word. It's a not nice word. F around and find out. I think you can guess. Not Foster.
Can't believe he posted that.
The Don.
Then, after this, at 3:15 p.m., President Petro issued a long-winded statement and said he was going to issue retaliatory tariffs. Now, if you follow leftist websites or go on Reddit politics, you'll think this is where it ended. It still is up there as a top post. Right now, go check. Where he said they were going to put 25% as a tariff on all United States imports. Okay, looks like they have a backbone, right?
Yeah.
Donald, it's not working. Except then at 9:20 p.m., Petro backed down and acquiesced on every single one of Donald Trump's demands. He's like, yeah, we're going to put on tariffs. Okay, let's let cooler heads prevail.
On second thought, maybe.
Come on. It's not,
Lo siento.
I was cooked up.
You know how it is.
A statement from the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, friend of the show, said, today's events make clear to the world that America will be respected again. President Trump will continue to fiercely protect our nation's sovereignty, and he expects all other nations of the world to fully cooperate in accepting the deportation of their citizens illegally present in the United States. This all went on for about 19 hours and 40 minutes. Keep that in mind. It's, hey, we're deporting these people. We're not going to take them. We're going to punish you. Oh, really? We're going to punish you. Just kidding. We'll take them and we won't punish you at all. Please stop. 19 hours.
Yes, but if people like AOC were in charge, she took it to X immediately and was like, I can't believe the price of coffee is about to go up. I'm like, seriously? You're telling me the price of coffee is about to go up and I can either secure our cities and our border or pay a little bit more for coffee? Yeah. I would take that deal every single day.
My coffee is Bolivian grown.
Anna Navarro, whatever her name is, she said, oh, now most of our flowers come. I think Valentine's Day is going to be a bad day. I'm kind of paraphrasing her.
No,
Roses,
they come from
whatever.
Ecuador.
And I was like, no, shut up. By the way, it's a good opportunity for local growers. They did some research. Coffee may have gone up. At worst, 17 cents. 17 cents for your coffee. Pay that to have a secure country where people aren't being murdered by some of these gangs in Colorado and other places. Deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Done. Also, these ladies have been getting flowers for way too long.
Yes.
I think we got to stop it.
Yes.
Yes.
Big Flower has lived high on the hog for long enough.
Give her a nice handshake.
Yes. Yes. Big Handshake will be its most fitting successor.
And maybe a chocolate.
Also, by the way, you can get some merchandise, border merchandise at crowdershop.com, including Mass Deport Illegals as a fun shirt. Build the Wall, Change My Mind. Yeah, you have it right there.
This is a JD Vance shirt.
That's a lot of fun.
Out there doing a great job.
This happened, but I wanted to give you a jumping off point because a lot of you don't know who this man is here in Colombia, President Petro. So he wrote this whole diatribe on X. And we're going to go through it in a Claim Truth and then a segment specifically on why this man being angry with America is a good thing. Let me ask you this. If Stalin criticized the United States, would you go, okay, hey, maybe we are so on opposite ends of the spectrum, that's a good thing. Or Castro, or the Communist Chinese Party. If they don't like what you're doing and their justification is because something evil capitalism, we go, oh, okay, we get it, you're communist. We understand. Yeah, difference of opinion. We hope you don't like what we're doing because we specifically don't do it because we don't want to be like you. A lot of people here don't know because they get white guilted into thinking that President Petro must be a decent guy.
Right.
He's not. He's awful and he's a moron. So let me read you his pinned X post. It says, Trump, I really don't like traveling to the U.S. It's a bit boring, but I confess that there are some commendable things. I like going to the black neighborhoods of Washington, where I saw an entire fight on the U.S. Capitol between blacks, Latinos with barricades, which seemed like nonsense to me because they should join together. Hey, why don't you let the United States care about our own race relations, okay? And we'll get to the claimed truth as far as I get the implication, crime. We'll get to Colombia.
He should have gone to Maine.
Yes, exactly. I do not like New Hampshire because it is too cold and my cocaine freezes.
In my nose.
He said, I confess that I like Walt Whitman and Paul Simon and Noam Chomsky.
What?
Okay, starting to get the picture. So if you know someone who is stubborn, that's me, period. You can try to carry out a coup with your economic strength and your arrogance, like they did with Allende. For people who don't know, socialist, Marxist, man who was in charge of Chile and paved the way for some people argue, dictator, Pinochet, who turned it into the Great Chilean Experiment, which was economically prosperous beyond what anyone dreamed Chile could do. But this guy likes Allende. Let's be clear. We'll go back to it. But I will die in my law. I resisted torture, and I resist you. We'll get to the people you tortured in a second. Our people are somewhat fearful, somewhat timid. They are naive and kind, loving, like Pablo Escobar. But they will know how to win the Panama Canal, which you took from us with violence. Not true? I don't like your oil, Trump. You're going to wipe out the human species because of greed. Don't let it be lost on you that this man has Petro in the name.
The guy whose last name is Gas doesn't like gas.
Yes.
That reminds me of that other world leader who's anti-gun. His name is Eugenio Bullets.
Yes. Oh, Senor Bullets.
Yes.
Yes.
Hates guns.
It is Bulle.
Muy malo, he says.
He has been ordained by God with his last name to message the rhetoric of anti-gun. Like me, with oil. I mean, I use a lot of it, but I don't like it.
I hate it.
Yeah. By the way, you're going to be where? Spokane?
Spokane Comedy Club, February 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
People go see.
Do it.
Josh.
Spokane, it's in Washington, not the other Washington where the blacks and Latinos are fighting.
Right, yes, exactly.
With barricades.
Pay-per-view free for Mr.
He went on to say, maybe one day, I'm shortening this, by the way. Maybe one day over a glass of whiskey, which I accept, despite my gastritis.
Why would you include that?
We can talk frankly about this.
Take a Tums, dude.
Because it's difficult. Because you consider me an inferior race. And I'm not, nor is any Colombian. I am informed that you impose a 50% tariff on the fruits of our human labor to enter the United States. And I do the same. Let our people plant corn that was discovered in Colombia and feed the world. Well, first off, none of that is true. And we'll get to a claimed truth here. And I'll give you all of the references. But let's assume that it would be. Even with tariffs on our flowers from Colombia, Valentine's Day would look just fine. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, because we have the corn.
Yeah, we have plenty of corn.
We send it there, actually.
Yeah, it's actually on
it's a big product.
The Welcome to Indiana sign.
It's corn.
But then it also says, Indiana, more than just corn.
Yes.
But you put the corn on the sign.
But mostly corn.
What? Yeah, but it's more than just that. No, but here's some corn. Which brings us to this week's installment of Claim Truth. So we'll go through some. So
Colombia more than oil, and it's just oil rigs.
Also, we didn't prepare this one, but no, Colombia did not invent corn. Just to be clear, there was an agreement. So there you go. That's the.
They also invented flight.
Yes, exactly.
Ah, okay, got it.
Yes, yes. We learned it by watching Turkish and said we will do the opposite. So here's the claim that he made in here, President Petro. Colombia doesn't. I do not like your American oil. All right. Here's the truth. America is Colombia's largest petroleum trade partner. Okay. Colombia's largest import is refined petroleum. America, I don't like your oil, even though 84% of all Colombia's refined petroleum imports come from your country.
Well, he thinks he can say this because he just admitted his people are naive. You think everyone else is naive?
Yes.
He doesn't have to like it.
Well, it gets worse than that because notwithstanding that Colombia's largest export is also crude petroleum. It's our biggest import and export, but I don't like it.
I hate it.
38% of all of our crude petroleum goes exclusively to America. But I am an environmentalist, you see. But I need monies.
To be an environmentalist.
And we are their largest trade partner, just to be clear. And Colombia, by the way, receives somewhere around $740 million in direct financial aid from the United States because we are the world's biggest charity, while this guy acts like he can take the moral high ground.
Well, receives should be changed to received.
Yes.
Past tense.
Yes, exactly.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
It's like a dude bragging about how good of a dad he is when he stays at home and gets child support from the mom.
Yes. I will provide.
You're not that badass, dude.
No,
I will protect and I will provide for this family by borrowing from your mother. Can I have? Do you have a $5?
Lucy, I need more money.
I need more money. I would boom zoom to the moon, but I have no leverage. No. I know, honeymooners, but whatever. Who cares? So this is what they do, and the left looks at them and goes, oh, wow, isn't it great to be like, I'm so worldly. None of these countries have ever gotten it right. How about now we stop importing from Colombia, because we can probably get most of this from the United States if we open up our own energy reserves, and Colombia, you get nothing. Let's be clear about this, President Petro. Let's go through another claim. I know that you believe Colombians are an inferior race. Truth. What? This is just more virtue signaling. It's not based on anything. We don't think of Colombia. By the way, most Americans, I bet, comment below, most Americans think of Colombian women as quite hot. I don't know about you, but when I first discovered, I first discovered Shakira, I was like, what? We've been talking about Britney and Christina. This has been around this whole time? More of that.
Yes, more, please.
Yes.
Left or whatever it is.
More.
Look at the butt on that.
Also,
that was a direct quote from Gerald.
And I know what you're going to say.
Really.
Shakira's not a good person because she's up to something like $1 billion in tax evasion. You're making me like her more. Of all the crimes that could make me think less of somebody, like the least significant, tax evasion would be crimes 1 through 10. It's pillow talk.
How do you
for
know
me?
$1 billion? She was so successful.
She's also guilty of full shirt evasion.
Yes, she is.
Which I'm not against. Because I'm a sick man.
I do not like to wear the full shirts because then I cannot tie my pants. Any excuse will work, Shakira.
I didn't know Colombian was a race.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Nationality.
Here's another claim that he makes.
You speak Spanish.
Where he talked about, just like the United States did against Allende. We'll get into Allende a little bit. He says that the United States led a coup against Allende in Chile. Here's the truth. Yeah. But Allende was a complete self-avowed Marxist financed by Cuba and the USSR, to be clear. The poverty rate during Allende was between 40 and 50%. And by the way, Allende was, I know people like to say, oh, socialist. No, he was a totalitarian who silenced, harassed the press. He nationalized industries like mining and agriculture. And by the way, he also did that, tried to nationalize a lot of those industries when American companies owned them. So we kind of had to do something about it. He decided to formalize relations with communist China and Cuba, and he was so bad, as a matter of fact, in Chile, the guy who this person admires, which we'll explain a little bit more, Allende was so bad in Chile that he paved the way for this guy. Pinochet wasn't all wrong. Changed my mind.
You know it's a dictator when their uniform is gray.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's about. Gray or black.
Here's another claim that he makes in his stupid little screed, that America took the Panama Canal with violence.
You're welcome.
Yeah, because violence, it's so foreign to Colombia. Here's the truth. Yes, and let me give you some history on the Panama Canal, okay? 1903. This is when the Colombian Senate rejected a treaty that would have given the United States rights to land around, at this point, the proposed canal. You had Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, better Roosevelt, helped Colombia's, their northern provinces They were helped by the United States to succeed and create Panama, okay, to be clear. We sent warships to prevent Colombian troops from landing there. The United States financed the entire construction of the Panama Canal. In 1904, $500 million was the equivalent to $15.2 billion today.
Wow.
And so if the United States has invested, created, and financed, you can bet your ass that they're going to try and protect it from some guerrilla conscripts. Hey, why didn't you guys build it? Oh, that's right. For the same reason that people are fleeing your country and you can't take them back. I'm sorry, not all cultures are equal. Colombia, I get it. You got some drugs, good-looking women. What else you got? The answer is nothing. Next claim that he makes when talking about Washington seeing some Latinos and blacks fight because your crime is out of control, that the United States is a dangerous place. Here's the truth. Colombia has the third highest murder rate in South America behind Ecuador and Venezuela, to be clear. The murder rate in Colombia is 25.3 per 100,000, quite a bit more than the United States' 6.3. That's almost 20 more.
Was that why he was upset about the fight in Washington, D.C., because nobody died?
Yes, exactly. Wasting time.
They need to be murdering each other.
Yes, that's right.
They're only fighting.
I watched them fight, but they should be uniting in stabbing the Asians. In Colombia, we fight like men. We use blades. It is our mortality rate is through the roof. But I will present myself as a sympathetic communist. So let's get to this man, because people are talking about this, and Donald Trump is pretty careful in who he chooses to stare down. You notice that? Pretty careful in who he chooses to posture with. Hey, when it comes to dealing with communists and Marxists and people who are against everything the United States is meant to stand for, I'm okay with it. And that would, of course, include the man of the hour, Mr. President Gustavo Petro, which brings us to this week's What a Piece of Shit.
That looks pretty gay there.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Colombia.
Yay.
I love how the left, they argue, like, it shouldn't be Colombia, it's C-O-L-O-M. Americans are so arrogant to respell it. There was a comedian who used to do that bit, like, we changed Spain to España. I go, oh yeah, America's the only one. Do you know what we call the United States in French Canada? États-Unis. It's called using your language.
Also, I don't care.
I don't care, but
I could care very little about that.
But leftists want to let you know that they're very world traveled. Like, well, I one time spent time in Colombia.
Oh,
I just shut up.
Good. Thank you.
I say it like they said, Colombia. So.
Yes, exactly.
The snort is necessary.
Let's go to President Petro, this guy, trying to criticize the United States. Okay, here's who he is. He's a leftist, right? He's an unbelievable leftist. He's president of Colombia, you know that. He's a member of the leftist Colombia Humana. He was elected in 2022, about 50% of the vote. Okay, let me give you this. He's a socialist. He's a Marxist. We're going to give you a lot of references today because it's important to understand who we should, who we should be art of the dealing. Okay, socialist policies to start with. He wants socialization of healthcare. That's what he supports. He stopped new permits for oil exploration and drilling. He established a progressive wealth tax with starting, I think, with anything over $600,000. He established a citizens rent program where he gives like a monthly salary to vulnerable families, which I would imagine is almost everyone in Colombia, unless you're dealing coke. It's a form of UBI. Here's who he was. This man is an actual criminal. Okay, he was a criminal and he spent time in jail. He was a member of the Marxist guerrilla militia group M19, 18 months in prison for weapons possessions, which of course means that's what they could catch him on. These folks were not, we haven't hit one yet. What a piece of shit. Okay? M19, this is the kind of stuff they would do. Communists, right? You would think communists, let's share. Yeah. Kidnapping, political assassinations, and working as hired guns for Pablo Escobar's Medellin cartel. What pieces of shit.
How dare you? It's Medellin.
Medellin. I don't care. I say it the American way. And at his inauguration, President Petro actually received, for those of you who watch Narcos, the sword of Simon Bolivar.
To be here, together with his sword,
Nutcrackers?
It's a lifetime for me. This sword represents too much for us.
Now bring out the giant rats and the dance. Where is Macaulay Culkin? We don't have him on retainer?
No.
Shoot. By the way, M19 stole that sword in 1974.
Well,
so he's advertising, hey, communist militia group. Isn't that great? Out in the open. This is a man, and they never get called on these things. I don't know that I've ever loved anything as much as this guy loves praising communist dictators. So Hugo Chavez, Petro was actually one of Chavez's closest advisors outside of Sean Penn. And he went to Chavez's funeral. You know, the man who plunged Venezuela into abject poverty and people were starving in the streets and, of course, paved the way for his successor, Maduro. In a country that is actually incredibly oil rich and still unbelievably poor, it's almost a miracle to make that happen. Yeah, that Chavez.
Even the Middle East is like, what are you doing?
Yes, what? You are not letting ladies run your country, are you? There it is. So when Chavez died, Petro posted this on X. He said, "You lived in the times of Chavez and perhaps you thought he was a clown. You were mistaken. You lived in the times of a great Latin American leader. Send in the clowns." What a piece of shit. Just to be clear. I muted my whole thing, sweetie. I said, what a piece of it. Yeah, all right. And you would think maybe he learned his lesson, considering the violations of human rights, right, that happened with Chavez, where people had a little bit of egg on their face. But then in 2022, he actually reestablished diplomatic ties with Venezuela and Maduro, getting quite cozy with this guy as well. It's almost like he just can't stop screwing up. Here's actually the photo op that was used.
Oh, jeez.
This short little fella.
Maduro's a tank.
You were supposed to give me an apple box.
What, are they playing a dirge? Jeez.
So we got Chavez, Maduro. Okay, sometimes you make mistakes. Let's go to Castro.
Oh, come on.
Petro praised the Castro regime. Again, a country of complete and total poverty and no basic human rights, during a Twitter beef with the previous president of Colombia. So he wanted to differentiate himself from the previous president of Colombia by letting know that he supports and stands with self-avowed communists. He wrote, "The Castros made sure that the children had food, health, and education, but you, Duque, bombed them." The only problem there is that people in Cuba don't have food, health, or education.
Right.
Despite what Michael Moore tells you. Ever wonder why Cuban Americans are the single most solid Republican voting bloc in this country? It's not even close. The people who experienced communism and fled it, one of the few groups who have a legitimate claim to actual asylum in the United States. This guy thinks that Castro's got it right, which means he wants to do it like the Castros in Colombia. You thought that if the children died, communism would die. Well, they died because of communism.
They starved.
You thought so much stupidity. What a piece of shit. Think about this. People were dying in Cuba because of communism. And I get it, the left will blame the United States. Cuba is a microclimate where everything grows. And they have the support of China and, well, at one point, the USSR. The two
still do
biggest trading partners that you could, hey, they don't need the United States at all. Wait a second. You mean President Petro is blaming us for sending back their own people, and people like him blame the United States for communism failing in Cuba, and they blame the United States for communism failing in Venezuela? Hold on a second. Is communism ever responsible for the failure of communism? Can you point me to one example where they admit this? Because this guy's a communist, President Petro. Just to be clear. So when you read on again, Reddit Politics is very valuable because they censor any conservative viewpoint, and it's a massive site. You see the algorithms, you see what people are commenting on. You have people there praising this socialist lunatic. And again, I don't think they know that he caved. So he's also a socialist lunatic pussy, just to be clear. And you see this quite a bit. Communism just becomes more and more irrelevant. The only relevance that communism or Marxism or socialism has is when brought up by privileged Americans who have the luxury of never having experienced it. Otherwise, it never works. It's less and less and less relevant. Pretty much every place that has tried it has either descended into total poverty and irrelevancy or abandoned it and sort of saved face a little bit. There is no door number 3. When people complain out there, Donald Trump is going to alienate us from our allies, hold on a second. Why in the hell should a guy like this be considered an ally? No. Look, this is my perspective. You can comment below. The United States has plenty of friends. We could use a few enemies, and I think that socialists, Marxists, and guerrilla terrorists should be on that list. That's been this week's installment of What a Piece of Shit. Anything I missed?
I'm telling you, if Dems are in charge right now, they folded at the slightest pushback.
Well, they wouldn't even sent these people back in the first place.
No, they wouldn't. You're right, Josh. They wouldn't have even gotten down this path, but they folded the minute somebody said, no, we don't want to take them. Oh, we have to because they'll do something to us. What we can do to them is far worse.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we should even have to. By the way, this is a plane load of your stuff. We found your stuff in America and we're sending it back to you.
Yeah.
That's not a huge ask.
Right.
Can you imagine that backwards? Like if a plane full of Americans is coming back and Trump was like, no.
Right.
Absolutely not. American, these ones are no.
We don't want them.
Right now, President Petro's like, that's a good idea. Can we find any Americans who want to be in Colombia? No. Son of a bitch.
It just doesn't make any sense to me, but I'll go back to AOC. The AOCs of the world, and I'm so glad they're not in charge of negotiations. This is how the United States gets taken advantage of. The first sign of pushback and the weeping and gnashing of teeth starts happening.
Yeah.
And they fold. They cave instantly. And this is some of our posts here, right? They're saying, we're going to have to pay the tariffs, the citizens of this country, not looking at the bigger issue that you're trying to solve.
Right.
And ultimately hurting the people way, way more. Donald Trump comes in and says, okay, you want to put a tariff on me? Fine. We have other levers that we can pull. How far down this road would you like to go? Last I checked, dictators needed money to make sure that they stayed in power. I'm going to start messing with your money. How long do you think until your top general starts getting a little greedy?
Right.
I'm betting it's a week.
Yep.
That's the kind of negotiation he does, and he wins. He's not going to win every single time, so I don't hold him to that standard, but he is knocking people over left and right now, and I love every second of it. That's what we should do.
Yeah, Josh.
All these leftists yesterday, I mean, within that span of what, I mean, you said 19 hours total, but I mean, the span of it, the discussion was probably 6 hours.
Right.
And people just losing their minds. Coffee's going to cost so much money. Well, you didn't care when coffee's going to cost more money when Starbucks employees were unionizing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You didn't care how much more.
Why didn't you care then, but now you care?
Yeah. Well, not only did the cost of coffee go up, more than double, but so did everything under the Biden administration. Coffee probably went up more because of the energy costs under Biden than they would from a direct tariff on Colombia. That's why we've talked about this. The net gain, it'll be a net positive, even if some countries don't play ball and these tariffs are implemented, because the leverage has been used with enough other trading partners that they have to get in line. And it comes down to, what approach do you believe is morally right? I am telling you this, and we have a lot of non-denominational, namby-pamby Christians that's like, well, actually, no, we want to be compassionate. What is compassionate about continuing to engage in trade with basically, communist guerrilla militiamen across with no consequences? And you know what's happened? You know what that kind of policy has led to? It's led to the war-torn type of country that Colombia is. It's so bad that people are leaving in mass numbers, and the Colombians don't even have the ability to take them back. They refuse to. That's what it's led to. Let's try a different approach. I think that's more compassionate. If you have a child that you don't discipline, and yes, in this analogy, Colombia is America's child, the problem child, just to be clear.
Adopted.
But the middle child, you don't get that much attention, right? How wooed, that kind of deal. But the issue here is, if you have a child who is a problem and is actually hitting kids in class, running out into the street where you could get hit by a car, and you haven't disciplined them, is it compassionate to never discipline them? Because then they become a criminal. And they hurt other people. Yeah. No, the compassionate thing to do is to start disciplining them as harshly as necessary in order to improve their life, to improve their outcome, or at least the possibility of. You can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. Just like people out there, you can't keep using YouTube and expect YouTube to start playing ball. Click that button, join Rumble Premium. And if you're already a member, or even if you're not, download the app so you get the notifications for our live show. How's that for a plug? Didn't even see it.
I wonder what was the tipping point? What was the straw that broke the camel's back on this and make him concede? I think it's the visas.
Yeah.
I think it's the visas. Like, oh no,
we can't go to America.
I can't go to
shop.
Vegas.
Yes. The joke's on you. Wait, is this a transgender on CNN right now? Oh, yeah. Trump expected senators that could reshape the military. Okay, let's watch this right now.
That's a beautiful woman.
That segment's over anyway. Look at this.
We'll take upwards of a year to figure out if this is even going
Coulda
to
fooled
be
me.
possible. And in the meantime, it's going to expose trans folks and make our
That's
lives
what's called the not even
more
barely
difficult,
passable.
unnecessarily.
I'm a feminist,
A White
and
House
I got to say
official
both of them are
told
tens.
me that basically this order today will direct the DoD to
No
figure
difference
out
at all.
the readiness of transgender service members in response to the question of what's going to happen to them, the thousands. And in this order, it talked about,
Thousands of transgender service.
that,
Are
raising
there
the question
thousands?
No.
of whether transgender service members have the readiness or whether they should be
can
banned
hear
from the
the hostages
military.
yelling from
What
the
do you
basement.
say to that?
I would say that there is no evidence.
You can't join if you have scoliosis, dude.
Service members are anything but qualified to be a part of our military service. The
Bye.
military is the largest employer of transgender Americans. You heard up to 14,000, 15,000 members identify as trans.
Not anymore.
And
They're going to rewrite history. We're in Vietnam. You're going to switch. Stop, baby. What's that sound to? Goodbye, horses.
This will only make our military less ready
Nope.
to serve.
Yeah, you know what? Here's the thing. I'm really
How is it going to make our military less
you're
ready?
Yeah, I mean, how?
We need more of them. We're so combat ineffective without the transgenders.
I know. Yeah, that's my point.
It's like when I was in Afghanistan, I kept thinking, man, we would stop getting our ass. We never got our ass kicked.
No,
actually.
no. And yeah, that's true. And I'm sure that all the women were thinking like, these lady showers sure aren't. I wish we had a big old swollen lady cock. That'd make me a lot more comfortable here.
Well, every female tent in the army is just missing one cock. You know?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's how you strengthen the military.
Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe just put a man in there. I don't know.
Yeah, the few, the Poles, the Marines. Let's see what they.
Agrees what President Trump is doing and said, quote, they're 100% unfit for duty.
Yes.
They're on pills and different surgeries.
Yes.
And you have complications with surgeries.
Yes.
You cannot deploy even if you have tooth issues.
Yes.
I'm
That's
curious.
true.
What do you say to all of that?
Don't care, but let's hear.
I would say that those are decisions that are best made by doctors and patients.
Oh my
including
God,
military
this stupid
doctors.
trope. This stupid trope. Hold on a second. The fact that in your state, they're allowing abortions up until 9 months. And for example, you have the governor of Virginia saying that if a baby survives an abortion, it will be kept comfortable and then the decision will be made between a doctor. Wouldn't you say that maybe that's extreme? I will answer that decision is best left between a doctor and a patient. Well, hold on a second. Parents, if you look at a lot of the science out there, children who transition, puberty blockers, it stunts their growth. This is the same drug that's used for chemical castration, or once was for known sex offenders, typically pedophiles. This could have negative ramifications permanently. Well, that's a decision that's best left for the doctor. And then the legislation is no rules. Just doctor and patient. Think you can find a doctor with a political motivation who you can pay to give you those pills? You can find a doctor to give you a justification for anything. There's no accountability whatsoever. They just mentioned surgeries, recovery time, pills, consequences like bones becoming brittle if you put men on estrogen, for example, or women potentially at greater risk of cancer when you're altering their hormones. Well, that's best left.
They can take all these hormone-altering pills and have their surgery. Meanwhile, no service member could take D-ball?
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me I can't have yoked-up Army Rangers?
Right. Yes, you cannot.
But I can have de-yoked little ladies like that?
Performance-enhancing drugs are unethical. Can you put some, make my balls a little bigger that you put on the prosthetics? Yeah, thank you. It's just, let's hear more of what this James Nelson Riley long-hair lookalike is saying.
Participants in our culture.
Whether or
not an individual chooses to an individual chooses to disclose every element of their personal experience or medical history with the public or the president. These are matters that do not need to be aired.
Do you realize
that they are being
this is the stupid thing? They go, forced to disclose information. First off, when I go into a doctor's office, I have to check a box, male or female, even if it's the doctor who I've seen plenty of times. Do you realize that I have to disclose the titanium rods in my rib cage if I use a sauna or a hot tub? You don't think that you should let the military know if you're going into women's locker rooms that you have cock and balls?
If you have some kind of mental illness or adjacent?
Yes.
No, I just have schizophrenia. I don't think it's a big deal. Let me in.
I shouldn't have to disclose that I'm going to have to pin myself with hormones 3 times a week. I shouldn't have to disclose that I may be out for recovery time at the taxpayer for months at a time. It's just nothing about this is reasonable. And this is why the left is losing. But CNN still thinks that people watching this going, yeah, good points.
And other people end up carrying their load, man. These people that they're always out for surgery, they're always out, they got a medical thing. Everyone else has to carry your load. Yeah. And you're like, we're making the military better. No, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're making me a little stronger because I got to carry your shit.
Yeah. Exactly. You know what makes the military stronger? The people who are uncomfortable around you. Yes. The rednecks who would be killing something that is not a human being at that weekend anyway, and you happen to replace his hunting rifle with an M16. Let's watch again.
While participating in the public space, and as a leader in the trans community, I will not be pushed out. And I will continue to advocate.
Physically speaking, you will be.
As a result
physically speaking,
of that,
you're pushed out by a stiff wind.
You can't.
I've had a very hard week.
You gonna cry about it?
State Representative Lee Finke, I'm sorry
stop
to
talking
hear
about your
that
boners.
you had such a hard week. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the invitation.
I'm hard and weak.
I'm sorry.
It's the hormone. Sorry.
Yeah. Here's the hard week that she had. The Obama administration started this policy. In 2019, Donald Trump continued it. It got changed back during the Biden administration. And now we're putting it back in place. There's your hard week that you can barely overcome and string a sentence together without crying on air. You need to be in combat?
Really? You know who they're not talking to? They won't interview is friggin' service members.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Non-transgender service members.
They did one, Josh. That quote that they were reading was from a former Navy SEAL that detransitioned and was basically saying, "You're wrong. They shouldn't be in the military."
I want to see you sit down in a cafeteria or a ready room with a platoon full of infantrymen and go, "How do you guys feel about this?"
Yeah, exactly.
And throw shit at you.
Yeah. Most are like, wait, what? I thought. Nah, man, that's weird.
That's weird. Frag out.
Can we take D-ball now? No? All right.
Nope, still can't.
Still can't.
Come on.
Everyone loves it when it's Captain America and you call it a super serum. We have super serum. We can't take it.
For the record, I'm for it.
Yeah. Oh, I think every advancement, as far as if it's monitored by a doctor, that can lead to performance enhancement and can lead to healthful outcomes, should be exploited in the military. Let's create super soldiers. Why not?
Regulate it, Yeah. Let the doctors be in charge of it. Don't let these guys do it behind your back.
Yeah. Absolutely. As it relates to things like growth hormone, whatever is there that will help these people recover. Oh, wait, you can, once you discharge them, they can have a crippling painkiller addiction, but you can't actually give them something that we know works so well. We have to monitor, test, and ban it in sport. The good news is we shouldn't be playing by rules when it's war. Let's get an unfair advantage. Now.
Nice sound effects. that was on point.
Wait till I do the police academy.
That's a nice inflation, yeah.
All right, this is how insane the left. I'm not even upset about it because they're losing anyway. But Donald Trump, boy, you want to talk about negotiating. We're going to continue, obviously, talking about this more. Honorable Premium, if you're a member, 100% more show every day. This weekend, Trump went to the West Coast, the lesser coast, to talk to the people directly after the Los Angeles fires and the aftermath.
President Trump arrived in Southern California this afternoon, greeted by one of his most vocal critics, Governor Gavin Newsom. Both leaders say they are looking ahead now to the recovery following those devastating fires. The president's visit today included a walk through some of the neighborhoods that were destroyed by the Palisades fire, and he spoke with victims along the way.